Last video, we put together just our initial get non-zero length string item. And this time, I'm going to talk you through setting up the getInt process. To begin with, you're going to use similar documentation to what we had up here. So you can just copy it and paste it. Right? So copy, go down here. And I'm going to take out my pseudocode there, because it's just for a comment anyway. Oop. And to initiate these documentation blocks in Java, it's just /splat, and then you hit enter, and the rest of it will populate. But you're going to have to type in your actual text. So here, we're not trying to get a string, which contains at least one character. We're getting an int without any special qualifications. Right? We're not going to test it as anything other than just an int. And we will need to have a scanner, right? And we're going to have a prompt. But instead of returning a string response, we're going to return an int. And we don't care about its characteristics. All right, so that's going to be your initial documentation. And then you can go ahead and copy out this line here. And we'll paste that down below. Except we already have a get non-zero length string, so we're changing this to getInt. And again, we do want the pipe and the prompt. So we want both of those, and then we'll do a left curly. And I'm going to go down to the bottom of all of my pseudocode and tap in the right curly. So that's all in place. And you're going to have to initialize an integer variable. So up here, we initialized retString and set it to nothing. Down here, we'll initialize retInt and set it to 0. Right? And you're also going to need a trash string and a Boolean that has, you're going to call the Boolean done, and you can set it to false to indicate that it's not done. And it'll just keep looping until you change that to true, and then it will exit the loop, right? And then after that, you're going to set up your do while loop. And for the do, we're going to have we'll have a prompt, and then once the user gives us some input, then we'll have an if statement, because we want to test that input. Is it an int? And if it's an int, then you're just going to assign that scan value to our retInt variable, or retval, retvalue, retnumber, whatever you wanted to call your variable up here when you initialized your integer variable. That's what you're going to reference down here, only if it passes the test. And if it passes the test, you'll change your done Boolean from its default of false to a new value of true. So you're just going to toggle the state from false to true, which will then exit the do while loop and put you all the way down here where you're returning the retInt value. But let's go back up here. Let's say it does not pass the test, right? If it fails the test, you need to have an else condition. So we had a do part where we prompted for input. Then we had an if where we tested it. And then we're going to have an else, so our if else, to say what to do if it fails that test. And if it fails that test, we're going to transfer the input value to a trash variable so we can get rid of it and clear the scanner out. And then we need to let the user know that they provided us with invalid input. Right? And you're going to say that the while done is false. Another way of putting that, like done is false, is not done. So you can say while not done, keep looping. And then after the while loop exits, you're then going to return the retInt value in the same way that up here we returned our string value at the end, right? Once it exited the while condition, it then returned the value, the validated value. All right, and that's all you have to do for this one. Check in next time for the next video.